Pompey Sound, your hourly update from Fratton Park, sponsored by Piglet's Pantry, the home of award-winning and handmade food on the South Coast.
John Messino responding to the question, what sort of an impact will the midweek defeat have on the squad going into the game against Derby?
I hope it has a positive impact, to be honest. I think that the nature of the defeat and how much it hurt should spur the lads on to make sure that we're back on it again at the weekend. And I think that if you look at the history of when we had those setbacks so far this season, the response has been really positive. So I'm very confident in terms of the group and their ability to bounce back. And I think that there's been times where we've had positive results, rolled into the next game and maybe took our eye off the ball or took a foot off the gas. We haven't had the positive result the other night, so we need to take that, use it, and hopefully it'll spur us on.
Dean Adams' prediction for Pompey versus Derby?
I think we're going to do all right. I think the crowd are going to be up for it. I think the players will be up for it. They're in for their massages and rehab and warm-downs today. I think we'll do all right at home. Derby had a blip last time out. But they had a good result midweek. I think they had a good result on Tuesday, didn't they? I think they drew with Burnley or somebody. So it'll be a tough one, but I think we'll be up for it. I'm going to go for a 3-1 Pompey win.
Steve Bones' prediction?
I think it's going to be another 1-0.
I was about to predict that you were going to predict 1-0.
Yeah, I will then. I was between 1-0 and 2-1. 1-0 again. Be our third 1-0 home win in 4 home games. So, lot to be said for a 1-0 win.
Except the last 10 minutes.
Well, I know they're going to go on forever.
The last 10 minutes are going to be a nightmare,
and especially if we're kicking, as we have done a couple of games recently, if we're kicking towards the Milton end in the second half, it seems worse, doesn't it?
Does.
Because the threat is right in front of you.
Yeah.
You can see the ball spinning off of Conor Ogilvie's shin and going towards the goal line or something, and it's terrible. And we'll have to look the other way or something, but I think we'll do it. And if we do beat Derby, then it's 1 foot. It's 1 foot in next season's championship.
Dan Shaw on how Pompey will get on against visitors Derby.
They're not the best on their travels, which should give us some encouragement, and we are very good at home. My head's telling me we're going to lose 2-1.
Oh, okay.
My heart will tell me that we're going to win 2-0. But I'm just a little bit concerned at the moment, Tommy.
I had your head down at 1-1 from everything that you said, but you're covering your bases here. I like it.
We'll see.
Elsewhere in the news, John Messino is being widely reported as saying that he was less than entirely happy with the commitment of a couple of players who, of course, he did not name, and that there may be changes against Derby. This is reported quite gleefully by Lancashire Live, a news agency up in the Derby neck of the woods. But managers and other fans are getting used to the fact that John Messino can play his cards close to his chest, can try to lead the other team up the garden path. And because he does spring surprises, they have to make contingency plans for all the possible surprises that he may spring. And of course, sometimes he springs the surprise of pretending he's going to spring a surprise, and the surprise is that there are no surprises. It's an unchanged side. So we wait and see. 2 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon with John Messino as your manager becomes increasingly interesting. Elsewhere in the news, Pompey Sound's attention has been drawn to a stark problem fact that we can't solve in time for Derby, and we can't solve it for the rest of the season. And it's very simply this. With the injury situation that we've got, we don't have any height at the back. And it shouldn't be an important thing. Football is football. It's played on the ground. It's played on the grass. It's played with the feet. Only often it ain't. It's played in the air, with the ball in the air, high in the air. And 2 opposing players jumping up against each other. Sometimes 3 opposing players jumping up against 2 in a corner or a set piece. Which we used to be very good at, both defending and scoring from. But just recently, they've been getting the better of us when it really, really matters. Now, I remember somebody telling me that whenever a substitution was made against Jose Mourinho's, look at me, getting nervous already. Whenever a substitution was made against Jose Mourinho's Chelsea, he would turn to one of his coaching staff who had the information and say, how tall is he? It was an important thing to Mourinho, and Mourinho is one of the great managers. He didn't want to know if the player coming on was left-sided, if he was 32 or 17 years of age. He didn't want to know what sort of position he's likely to play in, how it was going to change. The team just wanted to know how tall he was. And it's something that we should think about, because against Coventry, when they did us in the air where it really mattered, they had 4 players who were significantly taller than our tallest player. You'll never guess who our tallest backline player is. I promise you won't. I'll tell you in a second. Coventry had Rudoni at 6'1" up front, that header that nearly went in. They've got 3 centre-backs, centre-halves. Oh, they've got Wright at centre-forward as well. So they've got Rudoni at 6'1", and they've got Wright, who's also a centre-forward, at 6'3". That is 2 forwards competing for long balls against our back line, and they're all much taller. Those 2 guys are much taller than our back line. I'll tell you in a second how tall our back line isn't. And like I said, there's nothing we can do about it at this stage of the season. Coventry would also be able to bring up their 2 centre-halves for set pieces, which they did. Kitching is 6'3", and the tallest man on the pitch is Coventry's other centre-half, Thomas, who's 6'4". Only an inch shorter than Thomas Schmidt, who is far and away our tallest player, but he's not an outfield player. Against Derby, they tend to play 3 at the back, 3 centre-halves. The shortest of those is Clark at 6'1". Then they've got 2 6'3" centre-halves, ready to come up for set pieces and corners. Phillips, who's 6'3", and Langus, Sondre Langus, who's 6'3". And they've also, into the bargain, got a midfield player who's an occasional player, but he plays, called Forsyth, who's 6'2". So we've got 6'4", and the last 2 games we've got they are 6'4", 6'3", 6'3", 6'3", 6'3", 6'1", 6'1", and our back line. If you count Terry Devlin in there, he's 5'11". Reagan Poole is 5'11". Williams is 5'10". Bramall, according to the internet, is 5'9", and our tallest defender is Conor Ogilvie, a left back who is chalked up as being 6 foot tall, which is just not tall enough. You do want a towering centre-half. So please come back Rob Atkinson, who I believe is 6'2" or 6'3", and ditto Conor Shaughnessy, who is also, I believe, in that neck of the woods. They're still slightly shorter than some of these 6'3" and 6'4" guys that we're coming up to against in set pieces. It is an issue, and it needs to be addressed next season, whether we are in the Championship or, goodness forbid, in League One. We need taller defenders.